Everyone loves a good bargain, and so today we're going to be seeing if MG's latest plug-in hybrid is actually worth the price tag. Because at the time of filming and in the UK, the HS PHEV with the new facelift starts from roughly £32,000 and extends up to £33,500 without adding any additional options. So how does it compare to its rivals? Let's find out. So to kick off this review, let's talk about efficiency, because that is the name of the game, at least when you're looking at the plug-in hybrid. And here you have got a 37-litre fuel tank, which should give you roughly 250 miles of range on a full tank of petrol. There is, of course, the electrified portion of it, where you've got a 16.6 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and the manufacturer claims you'll get roughly 32 miles of pure electric range. From my own test, however, I netted around 25 miles. So therefore, combining both the petrol and the electric portion, it gave me around 275 miles. Of course, this depends as to how you drive and where you drive. Now, in terms of the overall MPG figure that I attained from my own mixed driving test, I got roughly 40 to 45 miles per gallon. Now that isn't too bad, but as you'll be able to see from the leaderboard, it's neither the best nor the worst. But given the overall price point that it comes in at, I think that's actually pretty acceptable. Granted, it's not exactly going to set your world alight, and furthermore, for those people who are looking at such a vehicle, you might be thinking, maybe is the extra investment actually worth it if I'm getting a plug-in hybrid in comparison to a regular petrol? Well, that will be really dependent on terms of your own use case. A plug-in hybrid really does excel if you can regularly plug it in. So for example, given its 25-mile range on pure electric mode, you can really save in terms of the overall costs of refueling by simply plugging it in at night, for example, at a home wall box. Or of course, if you're going to be taking it to work and you can plug it in for free at work, then again, you're going to be saving money on that respect. If, however, you're someone who's going to be doing over 100 miles of range regularly, or for example, just going to be wanting it for those longer distance drives, then potentially the plug-in hybrid isn't for you. At least not the MG variant, because there are some other models out there that actually do achieve a phenomenal MPG figure, be it as plug-in hybrids or just regular hybrids. Now with that said, I would like to point out that the new MG HS plug-in hybrid has got self-charging capabilities, which is certainly appreciated, as it means you can emit zero tailpipe emissions when you're in an urban environment, for example if you've just frequented the motorway. Now if you have got the ability to regularly plug it in, it has got a 7 kilowatt onboard charger, and therefore via its Type 2 port you can go from 0 to 100% in just 3 hours. It is a shame, however, that there is no 11 or 22 kilowatt onboard charger, be it available as standard in the more expensive trim or indeed available as an option, something that some of its key competitors do actually offer. Now, if you're going to be plugging it at home via a regular 3-pin socket, it will go from 0 to 100% in roughly 7 hours. Now, past the overall efficiency, let's talk about the other end of the scale, and by that I mean performance. Here you've got a 1.5-litre 4-cylinder TGDI engine, which combines with a 90 kilowatt electric motor and that 16.6 kilowatt-hour battery pack to output 190 kilowatts of power, or 255 horsepower, and 370 newton meters of torque. Indeed, it's actually pretty punchy, specifically if you compare it to the regular petrol HS model. Now, using RaceLogic's Performance Box Touch, I had it tested from 0 to 20 miles an hour in 2.28 seconds, 0 to 30 miles an hour in 3.37 seconds, 0 to 60 miles an hour in 7.45 seconds, which is quite a bit slower than the claimed 6.9 seconds, and 50 to 70 miles an hour in 3.93 seconds. As for top speed, it is capped at 118 miles an hour. But that should certainly suffice for a lot of individuals, such as like myself, who drive in the UK. Now, aside from its raw performance, I would like to point out that its gearbox is a little bit sloppy. See, here it's got a 10-speed transmission where 6 of the gears are associated with the engine and 4 of them with the electric motor, at least from the sources I've seen online. So if I put my foot down, it takes a while to respond, then it kicks in, and then it will slow down a little bit and then go again. So it's as if the vehicle is trying to work out which gear or where it should be actually diverting its power, and as a result means that the overall experience when you're putting your foot down to the metal just feels a little bit cumbersome to say the least. Now, I do appreciate most people getting this vehicle are probably not going to be doing what I just did there, as in going from roughly 20 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour and just putting their foot down all the way to the metal, but it's just something I thought I should highlight because it's not a problem I've noted in some of its competitors. With that said, however, if you're going to be pottering around town, the seamless switch between EV and petrol portion is absolutely fantastic. You don't hear or feel it. Of course, you might hear the engine trickling away from the front of the cabin, but other than that, it is actually done really well. So I should commend the manufacturer for actually implementing a good seamless switch. Although it would have been further appreciated if there was a means of looking through the instrument cluster and knowing when each mode is actually being used by, for example, the speedometer changing color. For example, some of the rival alternatives out there have like a blue or white speedometer depending on what mode is actually being operating in, but unfortunately you don't get that with the HS plug-in hybrid. Of course, you can go on one of the other screens where you can actually see the engine and the graphics of everything working in unison, but that will actually take your eyes off the road, so it's not something that you're probably going to want to do on a day-to-day basis. So it's just something I thought I should highlight again in this video. Speaking about missing features, the vehicle operates on a front-wheel drive configuration only, and therefore you do not have an all-wheel drive configuration like you'd find on some rival alternatives, such as the Hyundai Tucson. Now, it doesn't really bother me all that much because the vast majority of plug-in hybrids out there on the market also operate on a front-wheel drive configuration, but it's just something I thought I should highlight just in case this is a key selling point for you. Now, on top of that, in terms of the overall driver's input, it's not exactly there. It just feels a little bit disjointed, so much so that the manufacturers completely omitted a sport mode. And furthermore, there is a bit of body lean. But frankly, who really cares? Because if someone's looking at the HS plug-in hybrid, you're probably not going to be someone who really wants a sportier drive, but rather someone who actually wants a comfortable driving experience. And in this respect, the vehicle is actually really well suited. Because if you're going to be pottering around town, you'll feel that the suspension system soaks up a lot of the speed bumps, the potholes, and the anomalies. And as such, makes the overall driving experience actually quite pleasurable. Another important factor when it comes to driving comfort is low cabin noise, and here the new HS plug-in hybrid actually does fare pretty well. In fact, it's far better than its fully electric counterpart, the ZS-EV, because it doesn't suffer from any sort of low-end reverberations. Now, if you want a detailed breakdown of the sound measurements that are recorded within the vehicle, do check out my detailed audio review that can be found up on your pop-up banner, down the description below, or indeed in the pinned comments. Now, this does actually perfectly lead me onto its audio system, and here you have got 6 speakers with a 3D audio processing that comes fitted in both the trim levels. It will suffice for most consumers, but for audiophiles out there, if it's one of your top priorities, you might want to look elsewhere. Again, more information on that detailed audio review. Now, should you want to tinker around with the audio settings, you'll want to navigate on the 10.1-inch infotainment system. And here it's very easy to understand and intuitively laid out. However, it would have been great if the manufacturer had slightly angled the display towards the driver. The reason I say that is because all your climate controls are done through it, and therefore means that you've got no physical controls. Yes, you'll find a flurry of buttons by the dashboard, but these serve as shortcuts rather than the means of adjusting, for example, the fan speed or indeed the temperature. Now, furthermore, I would also like to mention that the infotainment system is a little bit laggy. It's not as responsive as some of its key competitors. And while I do appreciate the manufacturer has really tried to update the system and spruce it up in comparison to its predecessor, I don't really think it competes with some of its modern competitors. Now, as for the use of Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, they're both supported over a wired connection, but alas over here, wireless support is not there, at least not at the time of filming. Similarly over here, the third-party mobile operating systems do not feed through turn-based navigation data to the 12.3-inch infotainment system, which would have been great to see. Nonetheless, the driver's display provides you all the key information that you'll require. And on that point, there is no head-up display. Indeed, it's not featured as standard in the top-spec trophy trim or available as an option, which is a little bit of a shame. So past all of this, let's talk about storage within the cabin. And here you have got plenty of areas. First off, you've got the glove box, which has been optimized for right-hand drive vehicles. Then towards the center console at the top, you will find a small little area, although that's not really used for storage, but rather will reveal the USB Type-A port that's used to connect up to the infotainment system, another USB Type-A port that is used to provide charge, and a 12-volt socket. In case you're wondering, there are 2 further USB Type-A ports found towards the rear of the center console. Now further down the center console, you'll find a small little area which is useful for placing your smartphone, and then two cup holders, which have also got a little removable area where you can expand the storage, in case, for example, you do not have a coffee cup. Then within the retractable and the sliding armrest compartment, you will find a small little area which is also air conditioned. A small little touch from the manufacturer, but it's certainly appreciated. As for the door bins, the front two are large enough to accommodate a 500ml bottle alongside small to medium-sized valuables, although it's worth noting over here they're not lined in any sort of fabric, which means your loose change or keys will be heard rattling around. As for the rear of the cabin, you have got the door bins, which are unsurprisingly a little bit more limited, and then you've got a very snazzy looking pull-down armrest compartment. It actually reminds me of far more expensive alternatives out there. Indeed, over here you'll find two cup holders which are retractable, and also a small little area which will suffice for small size valuables such as a smartphone or indeed a set of earphones. Now, of course, when it comes to storage, we have to talk about its boot. And here you've got 448 litres with the seats in place and 1,375 litres when you prop them down, which is actually pretty impressive for a vehicle of its class. Furthermore, you've got that hatchback design, although it's worth noting that if you're roughly 6 foot, you might have to duck each time you're accessing the rear of the vehicle. Nonetheless, you have got a power tailgate that comes fitted in the trophy spec, and this moves to a manually operated tailgate in the SE model. As for the overall practicality, you've got a completely flat loading bay, which is certainly appreciated, although you've only got 60/40 rear split folding seats, and therefore you have not got an integrated ski latch. And as for the underfloor compartment, it has got your tyre repair kit and a small little area which will allow you to just about squeeze a singular charging cable. So aside from transporting goods, what about when it comes to giving someone a lift? Well, at the rear of the cabin, it's absolutely excellent. Headroom and legroom are a non-issue for someone like myself who sits just shy of 6 foot. I would go as far as saying that if you're even 6'5" tall, you won't even have a problem. It is really that good. Furthermore, it's great to see that the manufacturer has optimized the transmission tunnel, and therefore means that the rear middle occupant won't be left uncomfortable on longer journeys. It is also worth highlighting that the seats do recline a little bit, although I don't really see the point in it. Now, as for the front of the cabin, you have got 6-way electronic controls for the driver with a manual lumbar support. And as for the passenger seats, you've got 4-way electronic controls in the trophy trim or 4-way manual controls in the SE trim. Now, no matter which trim level you go for, you'll find heated front seats, which are certainly appreciated on those colder days. Although it's worth noting over here that the steering wheel is not heated and nor are the rear seats. Furthermore, it's a shame not to see a panoramic glass roof, be it featured as standard in the more expensive trim level or available as an option. Now, this does bring me onto its exterior design, and here I really do appreciate the updates that have been made to the new HS plug-in hybrid. Indeed, over here, its frontal profile just almost looks like a baby shark, which I actually quite like. Indeed, that is due to the reduction of size of the front grille. Who would have thought you would say that in 2023? And you've also got very nice looking headlights. As for its side profile, you have got non-body coloured wheel arches or side skirts, but thankfully they don't protrude too much from the exterior profile. And you've also got 18-inch alloys that come fitted as standard. As for the rear, it looks kind of cute thanks to its somewhat bubble-shaped design and its nice little looking tail lights. Now, as for the colour options, it comes in blue as standard, although you've got white, black, grey and silver available at £545, or the pictured red at £695. Elsewhere, I would also like to highlight that the privacy glass comes fitted in the trophy spec only. With that said, both in the SE and the trophy spec, you have got a plethora of driver assistance systems, which are certainly appreciated as they come featured as standard. Indeed, over here you've got adaptive cruise control, which does a decent job of keeping you at a safe distance from the leading vehicle. You've got active emergency braking system, lane keep assist, which can be also easily disabled by pressing a button on the left-hand stalk, and you've also got lane departure warning. Furthermore, you have got traffic jam assist, speed limit assist, blind spot detection warning, and also rear cross traffic alert. Just as a reminder again, all of these come featured as standard, which isn't the same that could be said about the vast majority of its competitors. Now, as for crash safety, the older MG HS was tested by Euro NCAP in 2019 and validated not too long ago. It scored 5 out of 5 stars, scoring 92% in its adult occupancy test, 81% in child occupancy, and 76% in its safety assist scores. But given the facelift model, at least at the time of filming, has not been validated, do take those results with a pinch of salt. Nevertheless, what I can talk about is visibility across the cabin. At the front, side and rear, it's absolutely excellent, namely due to the fact that you've got a rear wiper, and the fact that you've also got rear parking sensors and 360-degree cameras that come featured as standard across the entire trim range. Although it's worth noting over here that the cameras haven't got the best sort of resolution nor the best sort of contrast, but will suffice when it comes to seeing your parking lines and also making sure that you're not going to be hitting any sort of obstacles. So with all that in mind, it brings us on to our verdict. And quite frankly, the new MG HS plug-in hybrid does tick a lot of boxes. It's pretty comfortable to drive, at least if you're going to be pottering around town. Its plug-in hybrid element of it, if you are going to be utilizing it properly and therefore plugging it in regularly, will give you better fuel economy. And albeit not the class-leading figures that some of its competitors offer, it is still actually pretty impressive. It's also got a good use of technology within the cabin, a plethora of driver assistance systems that come fitted as standard, which is absolutely great to see. And then you've got plenty of space for your rear occupants and good amount of boot capacity. All of this packaged up at roughly £32,000, or even extending up to £33,500 for the top spec trophy model. It's a very easy recommendation, and as such it gets our value award. Now, we'd be curious to know what you make of the vehicle down in the comment section below. And of course, if you've liked this independent detailed review, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Chris from TotallyEV, and I'll hopefully see you next one. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.